Hey, how you doing? My name is Ryan, and today I'm reviewing and ranking every Hawkeye minifigure LEGO has ever made. This is the last of the main 6 Avengers to be featured in a tier list video, and clearly I'm reciprocating LEGO's Hawkeye erasure by making his tier list the last one. There are so few figures of Clint Barton as LEGO is almost allergic to making new versions of the MCU's best archer. But thankfully, there's enough for this video, and as always, we'll go in release order, so our first figure up to rank is the original 2012 Hawkeye from the Avengers wave. Often the earlier figures aren't as good because the design aesthetic back in 2012 wasn't as refined as now, and the printers weren't as sophisticated. But this Hawkeye deserves the roast just a little bit. The face and hair look nothing like Jeremy Renner, almost like LEGO made the figure before knowing who was cast in the role of Hawkeye. The coloring on the hair is really bright, and the style feels more at home by the Palace Cinema rather than saving the city with a bow and arrow. The torso is fine and has some nice texture, but it's a bit busy for my liking. Now, seeing as this is a figure from 2012, there's really nowhere to go but up from here, but I'm still putting this Hawkeye figure into the C tier. But how about the Age of Ultron figure from 2015? Okay, this is a big step up from the first go-round. The hair and head look closer to Hawkeye. The style of the hair matches more, but it's still not exact. The color is a closer match, but again, still not exact. The non-goggled face certainly is more of a generic frown, which, yeah, that feels pretty close to Jeremy Renner, but still something feels a little bit off. The torso is much simpler of a design than 2012's, but by focusing on certain details only, the entire torso and legs reads incredibly well. The flow from the two prints is also really clean, with the dark red printing on the black matching pretty close to the dark red arms in terms of saturation and brightness. So the 2015 Age of Ultron figure feels like someone is wearing a really good Hawkeye costume, just not Hawkeye himself. I'm putting this figure into the B tier. How about the micro statue released alongside the 2015 Helicarrier set? So yeah, this is not a minifigure per se, but there are only so many Hawkeyes to go around, so here we are. It's an even simpler version of the full-size Age of Ultron figure, but the increase in dark red actually helps. The goggles and face read rather well, as does the jacket flaps. The hair falls flat, but that's a limitation on the printing of a statue. Was I expecting much? No. Is it good? Yeah. Is it better than a minifigure? No. I'm putting this one in the B tier. Next up is the Civil War Hawkeye from 2016. There's quite a bit to go over on this figure, but let's get the bad out of the way first. Why LEGO chose to use the same head as Captain America on Hawkeye, I'll never know. Why LEGO decided to give two characters in the same universe, in the same film, on the same team, within said film, the same head, I'll never know. The hair, again, is questionable, but fine. It still looks like someone cosplaying as Hawkeye. But thankfully, that costume is top-notch. The purple looks great against the black, with enough color contrast and saturation for it to pop. The light gray straps add some nice detail. The different colored arms are a great touch, and this is the first Hawkeye to have one sleeve exposed like this. The legs are nice looking, and the overall figure is a great adaptation of the Civil War look of Hawkeye. I think this figure goes into the A tier. Next up on the list is the Quantum Realm suit from the Avengers Endgame wave in 2019. So this is a C tier figure, spoiler alert, but I do want to point out a few things. The face is different, hooray! But it's a pretty generic face used by characters like Han Solo, Legolas, Marty McFly, and even Captain America. Granted, this Hawkeye is the only one to have this face, and it came out before the 2 Steve Rogers minifigures, but still, not a great face. Also, this Quantum Realm suit comes with a quiver piece, which does differentiate the silhouette from all the other Time Traveler minifigures. At the end of the day, it's still in the same torso and legs as all the other ones. It's a good design, but it's a bit overused. And still the same overarching issues with the wave of Quantum Realm figures, so this one goes into the C tier. But how about the video game version from 2020? It's funny we've never had a non-MCU Hawkeye until 2020, and I really don't get why. This figure has some great torso printing, with the purple chest piece providing some great color contrast. The lighter gray straps are clean and clear against the black torso piece, and the balance of negative space on the stomach against the more detailed sides and belts is really well handled. The face also makes a really smart move that no other Hawkeye figure has done before. Both sides have goggles. It makes the piece feel more unique to Hawkeye as a character, and the purple tinted sunglasses are an excellent touch. as is the lighter color on the spiky hair. Not only does it differentiate itself from previous Hawkeyes, but it also looks much closer to the character in the video game. The blank legs are a bit of a letdown, as this is the first Hawkeye to not have leg printing, but the design and print on every other piece of this figure is really well conceived and executed. I think this Hawkeye figure ekes out a spot into the A tier. But how about the CMF figure from 2023? For a character as underrepresented in minifigure form as Hawkeye, again, I'm making his video last, with all that, it's shocking we have a CMF figure of the Archer. Based on his Disney Plus show, this figure makes some big strides in accuracy to Jeremy Renner. The face is pretty perfect. Not only the smirk, but the angry, bandaged face. For the first time, this head looks like MCU Hawkeye. The hairpiece is also much better. Not only is the style great, but the color is dead on. And while I think the piece itself was introduced that year, the coloring in dark tan is exclusive for Hawkeye figures. It really helps differentiate this figure from all the other Hawkeyes in that it's unmistakably Hawkeye, not someone cosplaying as Hawkeye. And speaking of the costume, it's a bit mixed for a CMF figure. The design is noticeably simpler compared to other versions, but it's also 1000% accurate to the Disney Plus outfit. Every line is spot on and visible. The color pigment on the chest and arms is really nice too. The medium lavender pops on the black torso and even matches the arms perfectly. And speaking of arms, they're quasi dual molded, quasi full coverage print, and while I admit I had been down on them in the past, they do look really nice. The only part I think we can all agree is not so great is the legs. Blank legs on a CMF figure doesn't really feel right. And while even some high quality cosplays use plain black pants, some subtle detail lines would have gone a long way. On the whole though, this figure finally got a lot right with what we wanted in a Hawkeye minifigure, and I think the CMF version goes into the S tier. But what about his counterpart, Kate Bishop, again from the CMF wave? I struggled with whether or not to include Kate, but she kind of takes on the Hawkeye mantle by the end of the show, and since I included Yelena Belova in the Black Widow video, Captain Carter in the Captain America video, I feel like I have to include Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye video. The multi-toned purple outfit is phenomenal, not just design-wise, but character-wise. The different shades balance out the base purple, the lighter chest, and almost pink arms, kind of segmenting the costume like armor. And from a character standpoint, Kate Bishop is far more show-offy and flamboyant when it comes to being a superhero compared to the more reserved, disgruntled Clint Barton. And the leg printing with the purple belts giving a subtle pop of color on the lower half of the figure is really nice. The face is also wonderful, with a serious but confident smirk on one side and a bandaged, bruised up frown on the other, which perfectly depicts Kate Bishop as a character who is constantly in over her head, but also confident in her abilities to solve any issue with her abilities and her charm. The hair is also a good choice of piece, and while not an exclusive mold, the color variant is only found with Kate. This is a great CMF figure, a great Hawkeye minifigure, and I think Kate Bishop goes into the S tier. Next figure to rank is the Avengers Tower version from 2024, and our first Hawkeye remake showcases perfectly all the lessons LEGO designers have learned in the 12 years since Hawkeye's first figure appearance in 2012. The face, while not exclusive to Hawkeye, is minimally used for named characters. Usually this head is under a Star Wars helmet, and while it's not as good as the CMF head, it does capture the almost permanent half frown on Jeremy Renner's face. The hair is carried over from the CMF figure, great choice there, but the torso and legs are the real star of the figure. It's a perfect update and upgrade of the original 2012 design, with enough high-quality printers to have every detail stand out and be legible. The inclusion of the shield badge, the lining on each of the black corners, the belts on the legs, and everything really turned out wonderfully. And while the face, you could argue, is a minor downgrade from the CMF head, I think this figure still deserves a spot in the S tier, and for being included in a $500 retail set, you'd hope the figure is S tier. And that leaves us with one more Hawkeye figure, the Age of Ultron remake from 2024. Another redo that nails the aesthetic of the original, the look of the costume, and the upgrade in quality. The original Age of Ultron figure was less detailed than the original 2012 figure, so the remake Age of Ultron figure is also less busy than the Avengers Tower figure. The red coat lining is bold and saturated properly on black. The knee pads are a great touch, as are the ruffle lines. And I really didn't notice this until now, but the 2015 Age of Ultron figure has red arms, whereas the costume in the film is more black than red, so the arms on the remake figure are a great touch, being more accurate. Add to that the now standard head and hairpiece for Hawkeye, and this underappreciated Avenger has a really good streak of figures in the 2020s. Another Hawkeye going into the S tier. Is this the first time I've ended a ranking video with 4 S tiers? LEGO, this is exactly why you need to make more Hawkeye figures. You finally hit your stride. The more recent depictions of the Archer and his protege are some of the better Marvel minifigures of this decade so far. But what do you guys think? What's your favorite Hawkeye minifigure? And now that I've ranked the main 6 Avengers, which character should I rank next? Let me know in the comment section down below, and as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.